Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Tech Today. I'm your host Ayush Elavadi. Now on the show, we strive to bring you technology across the gamut, right from the most affordable phone and tech out there to the biggest big boy toys out there in the market. Now, when we're talking about flagships, yes, we have foldables and we love covering them on the show. Galaxy Unpacked coming very soon. And then you have flagship wearables and all that kind of stuff as well. But then sometimes, even in the automotive world, we look at flagships. That's when you bring in the Range Rover SV. The special vehicle operations wing of the Range Rover team has come up with this absolute beauty, luxury tech at its finest. You're talking about signature flagship and then one level above that as well. That's what the SV is all about. Let me tell you what makes it so special or so signature in this special segment on Tech Today. Now, when a company like Range Rover says that they're making a special edition, the first thing you want to know is all about the price. So usually we give you the spoiler right at the end. Now, spoiler alert, the price, it starts at nearly 4.1 crores. So that's ex-showroom on road. It's closer towards 5 crores. Now, that's the price of a 1 BHK in Mumbai and so much more in the rest of the country. So yes, this is not a car for everyone, but it is an SUV where luxury meets performance. And the sort of engineering marvel and the technology that is used in this vehicle is something that the whole world can stand up and look up to and perhaps pick up a few tricks to see some of these features in SUVs, EVs, and cars that we have on the show and across the world in the years to come. Yes, there are very special materials used in the Range Rover SV, of course, because it's signature, but the real tech is in the wheels of the car. Active noise cancellation means that no matter what the sounds are outside, the microphones are picking up the ambient sounds and then making sure that the cabin is insulated. I'm guessing there's a little bit of transparency because if there's some glaring emergency sound or a horn or an ambulance, you can hear those, of course. But otherwise, the surround sound that you don't want to hear, well, that's all cut out with active noise cancellation. And that's a big deal in the Range Rover SV, but I'd like to see that across other cars as well. Now, for such a long and wide car with so much happening under the hood with a V8 engine, the car is absolutely silent. As you can see, the monsoon is here in all its splendor. The car is an absolute pleasure to drive. Some people would prefer being driven in this car, which we'll also show you in the second half of this video. But sitting in the driver's seat is a very commanding position. The minute you press the accelerator, small grunt, and the car begins to fly, much like the SVRs that we've seen. Performance-wise, this is a beast, but there's so much more in terms of design, tech, and of course luxury in this car. Some things which absolutely excessive, but still, it is luxury, and there is a certain buyer for this. Well, there are heads of state, there are CEOs, founders, billionaires, oil barons, media barons. Look, everyone wants a piece of the Range Rover full size, and this is that one more thing moment, the level up for the full-size Range Rover, the SV. This special edition comes with several other features, like I told you. Of course, it comes with the tailgate event suite at the back, which is what we're going to show you right towards the end of this video, so stay tuned. But let's talk a little bit about the drive of the car and some of the design over here. You see a little bit of ceramic use for this special edition. You'll see the white here on the gear lever. You'll also see it here with the armrests, which I found a little strange, but of course it does serve a purpose. It does help you adjust this particular lever. It really matches with the exterior of the car. And the best thing about the Range Rover autobiography, the full size, and even of course the SV, is the fact that when you're driving this, you can see every bit of the front. And of course, if you want to see the back, there's a neat little trick right here, which happens to be this HD rear view camera. Now, if you have, well, spectacles like me and you're cribbing about not being able to see it very clearly in the standard mode, well, then you can do this as well. And there you can see almost crystal clear. You can see the expressions of people right behind us in the bus. That's, well, luxury tech at its finest, and honestly, a feature which should come in a lot more vehicles. Now, as tech enthusiasts and tech geeks on the show, the first thing that your eyes fall on is the panel and the kind of user experience, user interface. What kind of software are they using? I think with the Range Rover and the Jaguar lineup across the entire lineup around the world, wherever we've driven their vehicles, their EVs, they have a very consistent Apple-esque sort of approach. In fact, sometimes I think they do things even better than a lot of smartphone manufacturers with their layout. It's consistent, it's classy, the color scheme seems to work. Apple CarPlay works seamlessly. In a matter of seconds, wireless Android Auto and CarPlay are sorted. And most importantly, if you want to access some of the features to do with the engineering or some of these safety things, dynamic stability control, auto brake hold, ride height. Now this, with off-road, you can obviously lift the car a little bit. So if I'm, coming across a set of potholes, just quickly hit off-road. And while the car is driving on this main road, on the highway, you've already gone up by, well, quite a decent amount. You can also go to normal mode and it gets the job done as well, because this is a very big car, long wheelbase. Now, of course, this is the longest, widest and biggest version of the Range Rover that you have across the lineup. And so even when you put it in a normal height mode, it gets the job done. Let me show you something really interesting about the car. The minute you, give your indicator right here to turn right, I'm going to take a U-turn just to see what is the turning radius like. And honestly, it felt like I was turning a small car around. Absolutely stellar job. Whether it is the tilt on the rear wheel or just how they've managed to plan this car. Sometimes, even when taking it out of my parking slot, I find it easier to maneuver than a lot of long sedans that we've had on tech today. So hats off to them for that. Now, what I also like about it is, while this is adventure friendly and very luxurious, what if you have someone who's not too tall or struggles to get into the back seat, or a senior citizen? Then with the Range Rover, you also have access mode, which can be, accessed from here and be accessed from the tailgate as well, which makes it much lower and as low as it gets in terms of such a big car for you to be able to ingress and egress. So getting in and out of the car is, let's not say it's as easy as a sedan for most people, but it is genuinely easier with some of these tech and engineering hacks. Well, we need to pull over and genuinely adore the interiors of the SV. Now, there's 1.6 million ways in which you could customize this car. And of course, in the rear, you have the signature suite, which we'll get to. But in terms of cabin interiors, design, you have this Perlino leather finish, which extends to the steering wheel and of course to all of these elements. The ceramic bits should not be missed, because that makes this truly SV. You see it on some of these gear knobs, controllers, you see it extending over here. You also see it over here. This is very uncharacteristic of a traditional Range Rover, to see that ceramic over here. And at first sight, you think this was an odd choice, but once you're sat in this vehicle, you're enjoying the whole 360 experience. This is what adds that character and that flavor to the Range Rover SV, which truly makes it something that's come out of JLR's special vehicle unit. So this is the OS for the car. Very clean, very slick. You want to figure out what's happening with the wheels, you get all that info. You can figure out what the tilt is like, what everything is. Weight sensing, if you want to drive this in the rains, you can then access it with weight sensing, right? If I want to really get all of this sorted over here, what is the access height? What does this mean when you're driving through water on road? Weight sensing will give you the maximum depth that it can actually navigate through. Also, that means it's nearly closer towards the bonnet, but you can keep lifting the car when the off-road height is selected. Then you have TR info, you have configurable TR. Now, if you're trying to endure Mumbai's monsoons and these torrential rains, then the Mahindra Thar was one car I enjoyed taking out there, because it's a no-frills, you're not really stressed out about it. It's almost waterproof in every aspect. You can drive it through water, but then there's no tech involved out there. That's just how that car was built. With this particular vehicle, there's a lot of tech involved with weight sensing. Now, what is weight sensing? Have a look over here at this particular function. You can get the access height with weight sensing. You can literally select how many meters. So you have the maximum amount here in feet, 2 feet and 6 inches is what the access height is right now, and you can actually configure that basis what kind of terrain you're going into. If you're driving through water on road and it's, well, a really bad Mumbai monsoon, then the car adjusts its height and other functions to actually navigate through those roads. So if you are using any Range Rover, especially the autobiography and the SV, this is a very useful function, and it's the same technology where you're going to access height, you're coming to an off-road height, you can also prepare it for the snow. Look, the Range Rover might be luxurious and really expensive, especially here in India, but it does not forget its adventure and off-roading heritage. And that's one of my favorites as an adventure buff who also happens to be a tech enthusiast. Now, first things first, when you're sitting in this big boss seat, yes, there's enough leg room, but most likely, unless you have a bodyguard or some security guard sitting in the front, if it's just you being driven around maybe with your significant other, because in the SV, it's a clear 4-seater. Because of this first change that I'm going to tell you about, things are a little different. So let me tell you, the first thing that I do as soon as I sit in the rear seat is I set it up to recline. And just like that, there's even more room for maybe someone who's 7 feet tall, way too much room for me. There you go, footrest out, and you're all set perhaps to be chauffeured around. But then this is the SV, it's no ordinary car, so I'll tell you why it is so different. If you actually come in over here and you see this white ceramic, no, this is not just a place to keep your phone or something like that. What it is, and the minute I flick this button, watch as some SV magic happens. Out of thin air, a proper table which you can use, and again, this is not just for my phone. So what am I going to be using this for? Well, there's one more use case which is specific to this particular vehicle, and that happens to be something right behind me over here. I hit open and there you go. The fridge has opened up. You've got 2 chill glasses for whatever you want. Place them right here. Have a nice meal as well in the rear seat of the SV, and we're all set to take you for a little drive. All right, seat belt on. The big boss seat, as comfortable as it gets. Look, massage and all those features aside, yes, this fridge was there, which I wanted to cool. So I'm going to shut it down over there. Very, very neat application of this design right here. And of course, quite a comfortable position as well to have your fridge, so to speak. See, this is what I'm telling you. They have a nice little strap right here for my charger. And while the phone charges right here, let's see what's down below. Plenty of storage to keep maybe all my gadgets. Now, if you wanted to fold this table because you're done with this particular application, look at this. I want to press this button, but it's grayed out in terms of technology nuance, and I slide this table forward like this. Automatically that button lights up because it's got that safety lock mechanism. The table is flat down over here. But what if you want to use perhaps the cup holders? You don't have to do this with your hands. In this particular SV, you press this button and the cup holders have come up. The phone is charging. Everything seems absolutely amazing. But you've seen all sorts of cars here on Tech Today with all their technology displayed in all its splendor. And yes, with most of them, especially cars like the Thar or the EQS, I like to be in the driver's seat. I felt it once with the BMW i7, where of course there was so much happening, and that foldable screen that we showed you, which is unparalleled in any EV, and now the Range Rover SV. Yes, you felt it in the autobiography, but this just takes things up a notch with a fridge over here, a table, and maybe a million ways in which you can customize this car. Look, you're spending a lot of money, like I said, a 1 BHK somewhere in Mumbai is the cost of this car. But then with that, you get so many features on offer. Even if this was Well, a chauffeur service, this is the car and this is the seat I'd want to be sat in. Maybe not the front seat, definitely not the passenger seats here or here. You can put other people out here. The secret to a road trip in the Range Rover SV is you call dibs, shotgun this seat and enjoy the ride. Well, when we're talking about SV or that signature or special edition, how can you make a car worth 3 or 4 crores even more special? There's a bit of aesthetic play there, there's a little bit of engineering, and then there's a lot of luxury inside. Let's start off with the aesthetics. If you want to spot this on the road and maybe spot your favorite celebrity in a Range Rover and then say, is he driving the SV or is she driving the autobiography or just the standard Range Rover or even one of the smaller ones? The first bit is this Corinthians bronze detailing on the car, which makes it a little different from the other Range Rovers. That continues even if I take you over here right up onto the top side. It continues throughout. There's a lot more that happens inside, where of course, like I've shown you, there's ceramic and the white bit, which I can quickly show you right now when we open it. A little bit of a sneak peek. You'll see a lot of this white ceramic detailing, which you've not seen on previous Range Rovers. There's obviously something special about the wheels as well. If you're really an enthusiast, you'll know that these are even a size bigger than the full-size Range Rover. I think those are 22, these are 23. So bigger wheels, bigger car, longer by a few even than the biggest Range Rover that we've had on the show. The detailing continues. The big giveaway, of course, is the SV badging if you're a true blue JLR enthusiast. But I'll tell you something, in terms of the design and the engineering, the Range Rover teams have done some really cool stuff. If you think of how they've managed to hold on to that heritage a few decades old and still make it look modern, make it look mean, muscular, and also luxurious. Luxurious enough for your favorite celebrities and heads of state to be in this particular vehicle. But then one thing that us common folk who get to drive the car would love doing is, in this sort of weather in Mumbai, if you can have the tailgate pop up for you like this. Well, like I said, if you're not 6 feet tall and you're struggling to access the rear of the car or even the front or this lovely tailgate that I'm going to show you, then all you have to do is press this button. And just like that, the car, which was almost this high, has come down to an access height that makes it much easier for me to use this particular vehicle. Well, there you go. My lovely picnic spot all set up. This is actually utilitarian. It can take a couple of 100 kilos and clearly I'm not that heavy. Have a nice seat right here at the back. Some nice SV cushioning. You can take a nice little backrest. Beverage of choice and enjoy the sights and sounds wherever you are. This, of course, is a beverage that came from the fridge in the rear seat. But let's give you a little bit of a verdict in a nutshell. The car drives really well. It is luxury tech at its finest. And there's a whole set of features that some might seem excessive, but if you're spending that kind of top dollar on a vehicle, then you sort of expect some of these features. What I like about the Range Rover line is, and it's a DNA that can perhaps be, well, spread out across the JLR lineup and then maybe across the Tata Motors lineup as well, is that while you are really modernizing with all sorts of enhanced tech, crazy features and great engineering, you're also managing to hold on to the heritage with some classic design elements. Of course, you're wearing that badge of honor, and it's also a very capable off-roader with wade sensing. And in a Mumbai monsoon, yes, it's massive to navigate, but once you do get used to it, it is an absolute joy to drive. It's a joy to drive, it's a joy to be driven in. We've had all sorts of high-end cars, luxury sedans, the i7s, the EQSs on the show. First look, always on Tech Today, here on India Today. But I personally am an SUV buff. And while we do enjoy all the off-roaders and the luxury that comes with some of the vehicles we've had on the show, the Range Rover SV is truly the pinnacle of luxury, of high-end tech, and that sense of classic adventure as well. And you can enjoy your beverage of choice right here in the Range Rover SV. I'm going to see you in the other half of the show, but let me know what you think of the Range Rover SV and our attempt to bring it to you here on Tech Today.